What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Tour Life. This week, massive episode. We got Yuli, I am Brody Smith, and we cannot wait to get started. First thing, Yuli, we got updated equipment.
We did. No crackle.
No crackle, no AirPods for me. I saw the tweets. I saw the YouTube comments. That was, I think, the one hindrance that we had was just our audio was complete cheeks. And I think moving forward, we're going to have that solved. I got this bad boy and two others as well. So when we go back on tour, we'll have 3 really good mics. Got the setup. Now, whether or not my computer can handle that is the question. But if it can't, I'll just go buy a new one right away. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited that we finally got the audio figured out. It only took, I don't know, what, 6, 7, 8 episodes?
It took a lot. I mean, I had to literally buy a brand new computer. I just bought a brand new computer, and I still had trouble setting it up, but we got it done. Thanks to the help from Silas. That was huge.
Hey, maybe in the future this show gets big enough to where we just have like a studio and we just fly in and do the podcast every week, and everything is already set up and it's incredible, and everyone at home will just absolutely love it. But as of right now, this is what we got. But we appreciate everyone from the crackle and on staying with us. Let's just jump into it real quick because obviously we have a massive guest coming on tonight. So I do want to get a few things, some housekeeping, if you will, through, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about our guests before we bring them on. Channel members. We got some more channel members here, Yuli. Silas will throw them up here. Shout out to Thor Liam, Jacob Warden, Blake Malone, Slang and Dis, Harold Andy, Robert Hart, Michael Ferguson, and Stephen McLean. Also, I don't know if you ever pull up the live chat when we go, Yuli. We have a Yuli emoji now.
I haven't seen it.
I'm going to throw it in the chat right now. Potentially. Oh, I don't know if I even can do that. Oh, yeah. It's already in there. It's already pinned at the top. The Yuli emoji is already pinned at the top. And we threw a couple other emojis in there. So now if you are a channel member, you have the ability of throwing some emojis on there. I'm actually going to switch. Let me see here. If I switch over, I should be able to throw some emojis in there to show you what they look like. If it's not to your standards, Yuli, you're just going to have to send me something better. Oh, there we go. We got Blake and we got other people throwing it in there for me. Perfect. We got the Yuli emoji there, and a couple other emojis as well. If you're not sure what a channel membership means, basically you get access to a lot of different things on live streams that we do over here on Foundation Podcast. And it also you get one highlighted message a month. I don't really know what that even means, but essentially we kind of can see your chats a little bit. You get emojis, your name is highlighted. And also I think potentially, depending on how tonight goes, we might do it's probably me because I did not ask Yuli if you want to do this, but I might do just like a live Q&A just with the channel members. So essentially what we can do is have smaller live streams with just a handful of people, which are the channel members. And it's kind of cool. If it's something that you're interested in, you can click the join now button. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify and you want to get involved and help support the show, come over onto YouTube Foundation Podcast, check it out. All right, moving forward, our boy always has the details. Steve's Nerd on Twitter, you already know. Let's throw it up there. How did we do last week? I want to first say, shout out to Michael Taylor. He already just became a member. So we already have a new one for next week. Heck yeah. Yuli, I just want to say real quick.
Okay. I know it's coming.
What is Mason Ford doing?
I know it's coming.
What is Mason Ford doing? Is that what you think I was going to say? Because,
no.
My goodness. Because also, the fact that you picked Matty O, and then you're like, nah. I don't feel like Matty O is going to do anything. And then you switched your pick to Joel Freeman, I believe.
Yeah.
Matty O also did not play.
Right.
I don't know what's happening here. When are people... I thought we had to say like we weren't playing like the week before. I mean, some of these people had tee times.
For
Some people
sure.
had tee times.
No, it's actually funny because I was on the list. They gave me a tee time, and I had already texted them
You
the
were one of those
last week.
people?
I had texted them like a week before, being like, "Hey, I'm not coming." They put me on a tee time, and then I texted them again and was like, "Still not gonna be there." So
Okay, so maybe there was some weird confusion this week. All I gotta say is like I'm feeling myself right now. Okay, I got Calvin Heimburg. I picked him to win. He won. I even said at the very beginning, I was like, this course is going to suit his game very, very well. He
that's
won
what
by
I thought you were gonna say. Is just be like, "Oh, I bet I picked back-to-back winners," but you're being a little humble. I appreciate it.
That's not really surprising. Let's be honest. The people listening here, they know I know disc golf. As the young kids say, I know ball, and I guess you can say I know disc. I'm just more mad that Mason Ford, I think, would have done really well at this tournament, and he didn't play. So I could have had, I think, the first time we picked all three in the top 10. But you also did incredibly well this week. You had both number two guys with AB and Joel Freeman.
Yeah, but number 2 doesn't get you extra points.
No,
Can you hear this dinging going on?
No, I hear nothing.
Oh,
do you have like a Domino's ringtone going on? Did you order some Domino's tonight?
I have text coming in and I can hear it, but you can't. That's all I need to know. Perfect.
I can't. Yeah, you're good. I can't hear anything. Yeah, I don't. Again, the point system. Maybe people listening can tweet us or leave some comments on YouTube. Let us know the point system. I don't think second place should get the same as eighth.
I mean, now that I got back to 2 second places, I kind of like that theory, but it could hurt me in the long run. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, but then all of a sudden
we're kind of both doing nasty.
But
we're
then you go winner back-to-back weeks. How do I compete with that?
I mean, I had an unfair advantage. It's a brand new course. You were not able to play it, so you didn't really know what playing style was going to do well out there. And I mean, it was Calvin Heimburg's dream. It was low
and you got to
ceiling
pick first,
galore.
And anybody who's gonna pick Calvin, it doesn't matter the style of course. I feel.
Yeah, we'll talk plenty about Calvin. Trust me, later on about what this man is currently doing in the disc golf scene. All right, let's shift over because we have our guest coming on. We were going to have, obviously this week was kind of a crazy week for the FPO division with Sayananda winning. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I believe it is Sayananda. I was saying it so many times this week, and Kelsey was like, "Why do you keep saying both her names?" I was like, "Because you can't just say her first name. Her name is so sick, like first last name. You just have to say both all the time." I do want to talk to her at some point because I think it would be interesting to get a little bit more intel on like where she thinks she is. But we'll see. I believe she is playing in the next event. So we'll see what happens. It might be actually a better interview after her next event. If she ends up winning again or doing really well, or if she ends up not doing that well, we can kind of be like, do you feel like this was just a one-time thing? Or so I did want her on. However, Yuli was able to get the white whale, if you will. He was able to pull some strings and get the 12-time world champion Ken Climo. A man that doesn't really do interviews. So we were like, clear the schedule. Let's get Ken on here and give him the full, as much time as he wants to be on here. We have no idea if he's going to be on here for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. No idea. I have, Yuli, you've looked at the show notes. I have so many questions.
So many.
I have so many questions.
I do too. Everybody does. I feel like anybody who, I mean, he's a dream guest for a podcast. He really is, because he doesn't do interviews. He doesn't really come out into the public very often. I don't know when the last time we saw him, like USDGC a few years ago, he came and he was just there. I mean, what is he doing? Is he still playing? Like, I mean, those are just the easy ones. What does he think about nowadays?
Yeah.
Is he going to make a comeback? Like, what's going on?
And I mentioned on Twitter how, you know, I've had the privilege and opportunity to interview and do videos and talk to a lot of pretty big either sports, you know, athletes or celebrities.
Yeah.
And I obviously there are some times where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to this person, or I can't believe it's been a long time since have felt what I felt today, where I was like, dude, I have to prepare. I need to come into this thing, because this dude is going to go down as the biggest, or should, like, the biggest legend in disc golf, right? We talk about these people in all these other sports, and they're just legends. You always hear about Babe Ruth, right? No matter how late into baseball you get into, Babe Ruth will always be someone that will be talked about. And I think Ken Climo is on that same, like, legend status of 20 years from now, 50 years from now, he will always be talked about, mainly because I don't think anyone's ever going to get close to 12 world championships, with just how different the game is now.
Yeah.
That just seems unreachable, right?
For sure. I mean, it just goes without saying, like, what he did. And, like, when the debate comes up about who the GOAT is, right?
I'm excited to hear what he says about that.
This is my answer, is I always give Kenny the nod. And the reason why is, I have a specific reason, is because Kenny won his last world championships in his 40s. I think he was like late 30s.
Wow.
And so I always say, like, he did it early in his career, and then he did it late. If Macbeth can get one late, like almost into the Masters division, I might be able to give him the nod. But right now, the span of how Kenny did it, winning a world championships in 1990, right? Wasn't that his first one? I believe so. And then somewhere around there. And then his last one in 2006. That's a long span.
That's over a decade, yeah. And obviously too, like, disc golf, I don't think really has changed that much. You would be better at talking about this. In the last 10 years, 5 years, like, the disc technology might not have changed that much. It'll be interesting to see what he thinks about that. On, does he feel like his playing career, like, in his time, did the game change a lot and he was able to innovate and change with it? Or, does he feel like now the game is, like, every year the game is going crazy and crazy, different? I think, like, from when I first got into it to now, as far as, like, playing wise, I don't think much has changed. I just think the field has gotten a lot better. So it's like the competition's gotten a lot better. And maybe some of the courses have gotten a little bit more difficult, but it's not like a new disc is coming into play where we're like, oh my God, like, no one could throw this shot. I just watched an interview with him, and Silas, let us know when he's on so we can throw him on here. But I just watched an interview with him where he was, like, talking about, which is a dream to me, they didn't have any overstable discs.
Right.
They didn't have a disc that you could throw and have it go to the right and then finish to the left. And that's just so interesting, because it is a completely different game at that point. If you are playing with only understable discs, you are playing a completely different sport, essentially, than what we have now. So there's a lot of questions to ask. And I'm just very excited to have the opportunity. And I'm also curious too of, like, why he decided to come on this podcast. I know you have a lot to do with that, but I think for him, I'm also interested, just like, why doesn't he want to be on podcasts or interviews, or why doesn't he want to be kind of in the limelight anymore? There's a lot of questions that I think people are curious about. And so I'm just very interested to get to have the chance to talk to him and see kind of what he's been up to and all that. While we wait for him, though, do you have any stories of him? Were you kind of up in the ranks playing around when he was kind of finishing out his career, or did you guys never kind of overlap?
No, for sure. I mean, 2008, 2009 is when I started playing pretty good, and I was on quite a few lead cards at, like, majors and national tours back then and stuff. So I got to play with him quite a bit. I mean, I guess probably my favorite story about Kenny was we were playing the Memorial, and I'm playing with him and Josh Anthon, and I forgot who else was on the card, but he called me on a football, on the first hole. And I was like, at that point, you could just re-tee. And so I just re-teed or whatever. But I was like, man, this guy freaking called me on a foot fault. Like, what the heck? And I was salty. So I look at Josh, and back in the day, Kenny, his putting style was he would put his foot and he would kind of rock his front foot up and down before he got
Okay.
ready. And then he would rock and his front foot would kind of come up and then he'd step. And a lot of times he would step on his mini, right? And so I looked at Josh and I'm like, I'm calling Kenny on a football. Like it's going down. Like, and I'm like, you got to second it though. And he's like, all right, if he does it, I got you, right? And so we're playing, and he does it a couple times in his warm-up routine, but he doesn't step on it. And so finally, on the last hole, this is the final round of the Memorial, we're on the second card. So we're all making a push for top 3. Well, we get to the final hole, and Josh, myself, and Kenny are all tied. And I put it to like 40 feet. Josh put it to like 30-something feet, and Kenny put it to 25 feet. And I was still looking for this spot, right? I'm still looking to see if I can catch him on a fault. I putt, I miss. So now Josh has a putt. He makes it, and then Kenny steps up, and I'm like, I'm watching him, right? And he gets up to the thing. He puts his foot on the mini. I see the mini go up, and I'm about to be like, yes, I got his ass, you know? And then he goes, pulls it back, looks at me and Josh, and knocks down the putt.
Like knows that
Like
you're
knows that I was looking for him to make this thing happen. And I've talked to him a few times about it, you know what I mean? To be like, do you remember that? And he's like, of course I remember that, you know? And that's just like
awesome.
a classic Kenny, because when you talk about the greats, like somebody of his caliber, the competition level, you just don't even know how great they are and how good they are in their head, because people like that, they see everything. They see everything and they take everything in. They know their competitors, what they're doing, what they're probably thinking, when they're going to beat them, the opportunities and all that stuff. And that really brought it to like full circle for me to look at this dude and be like, this guy is so much better than I even know. You know, like he held that the whole time and he knew I was trying to get him. And his little mini started popping and he pulls it back, looked at both me and Josh, and then just knocked it down.
Wow. That's pretty dope. That's sick. Yeah, I mean, you hear stories and like my
He's having a little issue with connecting with the camera. Will you text me
the link again?
Sias' number, and then I'm gonna have him, or I'll have Sias kind of help him out.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me do that. Oh, I'm calling Silas. Oops. Okay. I'm going to put it in the tour life thing.
Okay.
There you go. You got it. Yeah, I was going to say, while you're doing that, I was going to say
So, Sias, I know you can hear us. Will you please, I'm gonna put this.
Yeah,
number in
he'll
here.
call him and try to get it worked out. My introduction to Ken was maybe tainted in a way, right? Because I was under the wing of Paul Macbeth, and obviously those two guys, regardless of what you want to say about one another, when you have two competitors like that, they are going to maybe not always say the nicest things about one another. And so I feel like when I got in, I kind of had like a tainted view on Climo. And the more I've been around disc golf and gotten more of a overall perspective of others talking about him, I've had Barsby tell me stories when we're on the cards about him, and I've just heard other ramblings and seen stuff on social media, and I've watched a handful of interviews and old videos and stuff like that. The dude was just a straight competitor. He seemed like he might have been one of the first people potentially to take the sport very seriously.
Listen,
And
he was a monster. He was a big dude too, athletic build. Like
he
if
was.
if you can go back and look at, there's some pictures and videos of him when he wins. He just picks up the basket like he was like it weighed 1 pound. Like he just picked that thing up and shook it. You know what I mean? Not only did he have that athletic build, but the guy competes at everything. It doesn't matter if it's kick rock. He's gonna go out there and try to beat you. You know, I played my fair share of traditional golf with him. He likes to hit the sticks from time to time, and so I would go out and I would play with him. And he is just a competitor at whatever. He'll bet on you know, if you guys have the same putt, there's gonna be money for that putt. Like that's just the way that he is.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's just how these guys are wired, right? They don't know when to shut it off. I remember when I was playing table tennis with Rom, a sport that I don't think he thinks he's very good at, but he was very competitive at it. And I'm just like, it's just something that you cannot switch off, even though you're like, bro, you are literally like one of the best golfers, if not the best golfer in the world. Like it's okay to, lose in table tennis or something,
Yeah.
but
That doesn't compute.
Yeah, to get to that level though, you have to attack everything. You have to. And I think even when it comes down to your training with your practice, all these things, you have to have this obsessive, aggression towards all these things to get to that level. And it seemed like that was something that was kind of just, again, it would be interesting to see, is that something that he always had? Is that something that he was somehow able to figure out to get to that point or whatnot? But we'll see if Silas can kind of get him on here.
Yeah, and the thing as well is he's really smart. I've asked him questions, especially early on when I first came into the sport. Everybody was so accessible that I could ask, Barry Schultz, Ken Climo, all of them, any questions when I was learning. And I remember one thing that I asked him is I was playing really well, but at the end of my rounds, I was so exhausted and I'd get these migraines because I would just be so focused through the whole entire round. And it started to like really wear on me. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey man, I started getting these migraines after I play and I'm exhausted. Like, do you have any advice on how I could, fix this? And he goes, well, I mean, how do you concentrate? Do you concentrate on every shot or do you concentrate, once in a while? And I'm like, oh no, I'm dialed in. As soon as I get to the course, I'm focused on everything. I'm focused on the next shot. I'm focused on doing whatever it is in that moment. And he goes, well, that's your problem. He's like, you have 30 seconds to throw. So use that 30 seconds to focus. Don't focus the rest of the time. That helped me so much. Like I've never had that problem again. Just that easy way to, like an easy little tip. To me, I thought I was doing it right because I'm like, no, I'm not letting any shot go. I'm not letting anything happen. And he's like, no, you're actually overthinking it. Just use that 30 seconds. Think about what you're supposed to do. And then talk to whoever on your way to the next one or whatever. And that really, was something that I think about a player like that. Not every really good player can give you a tip, unfortunately. Some people just don't even know what they do.
No.
They're just good.
They also just like describe, like they'll tell you something like, oh, this is what I do. And then they do it. And you're like, no, you don't do that. That's not what you do at all. What
You've
are you
heard that
about?
from somebody else.
Yeah. One thing that you just said, though, that rings true is an aspect of disc golf that I think some people look over as what makes disc golf challenging in a way is how slow it is. It is. Yep. It is a sport where you can get lost in your thoughts and you can have your thoughts destroy your round. Where, coming from Ultimate Frisbee, that's been something that has been very difficult for me to kind of transition over into. Luckily, I did have some golf background to where obviously that's the same kind of concept there. But Ultimate Frisbee, like you're on the field, you don't really have time to contemplate like,
Right.
ooh, am I going to throw this pass into the ground? Am I going to drop this? Everything's so quick that it's very reactionary. And so at this point, it's just like, how much work have you put into it? How much training have you done? Go out there and can you execute? Disc golf, there is so much downtime where you're just walking. And that's one of the reasons why absolutely love having caddies. And again, I'll say this, I believe I have the best caddies every single tournament. I get so lucky. I just had Ryan on my bag at Texas State's, and he was incredible because I'm able to throw a shot, whether it's good or bad. There's a good chance when I don't throw again for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And what am I doing in between that time? I'm talking about the UFC fights coming up. I'm talking about where he lives, his family, or what he's doing, or I'm talking about the food I'm going to eat after my whatever. I'm not, like you were saying, locked in, because our rounds are 3+ hours. And if you're locked in as soon as you get to the tournament, now you're saying that you're locked in for 4 hours straight. Like, good luck with that, man.
No, exactly. And it's so different, like you said, like playing basketball or anything like that, because even just running, like if we could run to our next shot, it would be such a different game because it's cardio, your body, everything kind of gets going. It's easier to concentrate on whatever it is. And disc golf, I think golf as well. I mean, that's what is so beautiful about it is all you have is your thoughts and you have time to mess it up. So part of the game is being able to control those the whole time or shut them off is like what I had to learn is to shut them off and then control them.
I wonder too, how good, like, would I increase my skill level if I did that? If I legitimately went back to like ultimate frisbee kind of days of where I'm not standing at my disc looking at like visualizing the shot. It's like I get to my lie. I figure out what shot I'm gonna do. I pull it out of my bag and then I immediately just walk up and throw it. It's like I'm like I take no time.
Yeah.
Because when I go like in the fields and practice and stuff, I'll sometimes do that. I'll sometimes have a basket, 200 feet away, and I'll have like 5 putters or zones or whatever in my hand. And I'm just like, at that point, it's just muscle memory. And I'm just do. And I feel like those shots, I'm like, why can't I do that in a tournament?
Crisp.
Yeah, they just come out clean. I'm parking, and I wonder, like, the only thing is, like, if I do that, I could get crucified. Like, we walk up to a tee pad and everyone's taking their time and and it's my turn. And I immediately just pull a disc out of my bag and one fell swoop, like out of my bag, run up and just chuck it. People are gonna be like, dude, does this guy even care?
Yeah.
But I wonder, what would my results be from that? Cause that is something that I am ingrained to and I'm used to. I don't know.
I have a crazy question that I want to start asking our guests, and that is, maybe I can ask it to Kenny, but if you redid everything and you started with no skill set at the same age.
Hi.
Oh, hello. We got it done.
All right, we're setting up everything right now.
Hey guys,
Hey.
just had to change computers and it all works fine.
No
Oh,
worries.
nice.
Silas, are you able to lower the volume or the echo?
He'll just have to turn his volume down a little bit.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
You're not getting an echo on your end, Silas? We'll see.
Okay, try now.
Test. That sounds good. Oh, yeah. I think we
Oh.
got it.
Crisp.
I think we got it. Okay, we're going to pull you in here. Here we go. We got the man himself. Yuli, you want to give the introduction? I feel like you need to give the introduction here.
Well, yeah, I mean, this man needs no introduction. It's Ken Climo, 12-time world champion, greatest of all time, my good friend, and man, we're so happy to have you on here.
I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I was telling Yuli that, you know, before you came on, I've had the pleasure of interviewing and talking to a lot of people throughout my career, and it's been a long time since I've actually felt like nervous to meet or talk to someone. And so it felt good to kind of have the butterflies, because I've heard so many stories, and your name, obviously, you know, one of the first discs I ever got was actually from Avery Jenkins, and it was a 10-time AVR. And that's what I was putting with when I first started playing disc golf. I was putting with that, and then I had like one of his destroyers or something. And you know, I feel like I'm just saying it's an honor to actually get to finally get a chance to talk to you. I have crazy amount of questions for you, so please let me know when I've, you know, talk your ear off and you're done talking with me. Let me know. But I know our people listening are very excited for this interview as well. A lot of people have been saying that they're looking forward to this one. So without further ado, I guess the first question I have is, you know, you did decide to come on this. I think a lot of that has to obviously do with Yuli, your connection with Yuli. What would you say is like the main reason why you have maybe not done as many interviews, or because I'm sure tons of people would love the opportunity of talking with you. What's kind of the reason for you to kind of handpick or, you know, come on the scene every once in a while?
I don't know. I'm just not that tech savvy. Kind of
Gotcha.
Living my own life, you know, doing family things nowadays, basically, is probably the reason.
Okay. I mean, that me and Yuli will tell you right now, we're not very tech savvy either. This, you came at the right time, because this podcast was an absolute disaster a couple episodes ago. So, okay. I just kind of want to know too, what got you into disc golf? What was like the start? What jumped you into it, I guess?
Well, I had played ball golf since I was 7 years old, played for my high school team, loved the game of golf, still love the game of golf. But I used to hang out with some friends of mine that lived in this neighborhood, kind of where the course went in. I didn't know it went in there. And my brother mentioned something to me about, hey, do you know there's a Frisbee golf course over in this park that's near the neighborhood that my buddies live in? And I was like, no, Frisbee golf, what's that? You know, I've never heard of that. Went out there and tried to, you know, locate what he was talking about, and didn't really see anything that looked like golf. Basically, there was no baskets. It was just wooden posts with red paint on the top. So you had to hit the red paint part. And so that's why I didn't really notice anything. I just saw some just some posts sticking out of the ground. I have no idea what it was, but ended up going back there and realizing that those posts were the disc golf course. And I didn't even know what a basket looked like at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd never even heard. That was in 1987.
Was that fairly common at the time? Like most courses had posts, or was that more like just like a local course type of thing?
That was a local course type of thing, because most courses I went to after that point, you know, had baskets. But in the beginning, I think a lot of courses did start out with an object before they were able to get baskets. So
did you not have any like prior Frisbee, like tossing it on the beach or anything like that? Did you mess around with the Frisbee at all, or were you strictly golf and then just got into disc golf itself?
Oh, that's one of the unique coincidences is I used to throw Frisbee in that park with my buddies before I ever heard about disc golf. And yeah, I played beach Frisbee, hucked the lid around a ton, did some freestyle. You know, we'd get with your buddy and throw your lid, and you try and back him up, he'd try and back you up, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I had probably thrown over 100,000, you know, throws with a Frisbee before I ever heard about disc golf. Definitely lots and lots of throws.
Did you dabble ever into ultimate Frisbee? I
never did play any formal ultimate games. We did some pickup games here and there at the course I played at, but never anything formal where there was referees and all that stuff.
I feel like you would have been a very formidable force in ultimate Frisbee. I mean, I don't know exactly how tall you are, but from the videos and stuff I've seen, it does seem like you tower over your your opposition. So I feel like you with your throwing background and your height, you would have been a pretty good ultimate frisbee player.
Yeah, I got pretty good hands. I catch pretty good. I ran and jumped pretty good back in the day. I probably would have been fairly decent at the game.
You probably picked a more financially beneficial career path, though, in disc golf. There still is not very much money in ultimate frisbee even to this day.
I am seeing it posted all over Facebook. I got the AUDL. I see that on Facebook all the time. They're definitely getting a little bit more of a presence out there for sure.
Yeah.
And they look a little bit more professional than they used to. They're in bigger stadiums and they have some crowds and their uniforms are snazzy and whatnot.
Yeah, they're getting up there for sure. There's some things that are obviously causing some issues with it kind of growing and breaking through a little bit. Okay, but back to you. Another question I had, did you have any other athletic background? Were there other sports that you played growing up, or was it strictly just golf was what you played mostly?
I did a lot of stuff as a child. Yeah, I played baseball for umpteen years, little league and whatnot, and kind of didn't really play for my high school. That's kind of where my baseball career ended. I didn't even try. I probably could have, but I ran track. I played volleyball in middle school, played a little bit of Pee Wee League football, raced bicycles, BMX. I did quite a few things athletically for sure.
Do you feel like, because I know your first event, like your first official event, you ended up winning. Do you feel like being successful early on kind of drove you into wanting to continue to get better and better at disc golf? Like, had you played your first event and you got dead last and you're like, I'm absolutely terrible at this, do you think that would have changed your trajectory on like your career in disc golf?
No, I don't think so at all. Anyway, that first event was an amateur event, so I wasn't really playing against the best of competition in that event anyway. But no, I was so hooked with the sport before I ever played any kind of event that I was going to play and get better no matter what.
So your first event was an amateur event?
Yeah, I think I only played 2 amateur events in my whole life. Went pro after my second amateur event.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so what if you took those scores and then put them in the pro field, or was it just strictly an am event? Would you have actually played pretty good?
One of them was an amateur event. I'm not sure about the other one. Can't really recall right now, but I just knew how my game was progressing at that point.
Yeah.
I'd played for 4, 5, 6 months before I ever got into any one event, because there wasn't really that many events back in the day. I mean, it was a handful per year in my state, basically. There wasn't much going on in 1987.
Well, I was born in 1987, so there was a lot going on. You know what I'm saying?
Disc golf.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. What is your favorite disc golf memory? Because I did see a clip of you doing some tricks at Pinehurst, which I thought was dope, because Pinehurst is like one of my favorite golf complexes I've ever gone to. And you were playing like right on that huge, I don't know if you remember this, but you were like skipping the frisbee into
a chair, freestyle moves,
right on that massive putting green where you can just right
in front of the clubhouse.
Yeah. So do you have any other?
They actually let us throw some discs out there on the course too, and we're out there filming us and made a little montage. That's probably what you saw, was the Jack Nicklaus of disc golf. That montage.
Oh, is that what it was? So they invited you out there to kind of do like a little piece on you?
Well, I had friends get me out there on the course, and those friends told the higher ups at Pinehurst that me and Barry were going to be there. So they sent their own cameraman out there to kind of follow us and shoot some stuff of us while we're on the course. Wow. We threw some discs on a par 3. It was like 170 yards, threw one pin high, like 510 feet. And then we crushed a couple down a fairway, big par 5, just let them rip, big flex shots, across the lake going out there. And that was really neat. I actually hit a mini with a 3-wood and made it fly like you throw it.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's actually sick.
That was part of it.
Any other things, like opportunities and stuff that you've been able to do kind of like that over the years that you've really enjoyed?
A few here and there, not that many. One of my most cherished memories of just doing something with disc, but it's not, actually playing or competing in a disc golf tournament, is we went to an overlook on the Blue Ridge Parkway when we were at the Laurel Springs Open back in the 80s, and we were hucking discs, and you'd have the big crowd kind of giving you the A-OK or not right as soon as you released it. Oh, no, it's no good. Oh, yeah, that one's good. So I take out this beat up Cobra and throw it with like 90 degrees hyzer down the mountain. Everybody's like, no, it's too much hyzer. And it just slowly flipped and slowly flipped and slowly flipped. flipped over, rode for about 30 seconds on the flip, came back, picked up speed as it went downhill, flipped over again, and rode for another 25 seconds. This thing flew for a minute before we lost sight of it. And that's a pretty awesome memory, just in non-tournament stuff.
Yeah. Anything tournament wise jump out at you of just like stuff that you're just like, when that happened, that's something that's going to be cemented in like my memory forever?
Well, I think winning my first World Championships was pretty special. It was 9 lead changes with 3 different leaders throughout the final 18 holes. And I was able to throw a Cobra on the second to last hole, like 470 feet right under the basket.
What is a Cobra? I've never heard of that one.
It is a Stingray with a bead, or a slightly
It's like
faster
almost
rock.
a mid-range is what it is.
Oh, really?
It's like shaped. It's like kind of a deeper rim than the drivers will see now, and it's like a more of a blunt edge, right? I know
it's
that
a little sharper than a rock, I would say.
Right.
Just a slightly bit faster than a rock, but very
And that was
similar.
like your go-to disc off the tee?
Oh yeah, for quite
wow.
a few years until the Viper came out.
Oh, okay.
and that was in Scottsdale, right?
That was in Scottsdale. That was at Vista del Camino.
Yep, because I know the spot. And when I was first coming up in Scottsdale, people would take me to the spot and be like, this is the spot where he threw like 500 foot with a Cobra. And we weren't getting that far with the disc that we had. And I'm like, there ain't no way he threw that with a Cobra. It's deep. It's deep.
It was, had some adrenaline, I think, going on there. Because I wasn't
Yeah.
usually throwing like 475 with the Cobras. 425 maybe, but 475 was a little out there. But the air's a little thinner out there, so it goes a little farther out there than it does here. It's really humid here, and this just don't go as far here in general.
Was there like a increase? I mean, obviously you won your first one, but at what point did you just like think to yourself, I'm never losing one of these, right? After you win so many, was there a moment in time where you're just like, I'm never going to lose? I'm literally just going to beat everyone?
I never
time?
thought that I was never going to lose, because I played many other tournaments throughout those besides the Worlds, and would get beat regularly. So I didn't ever think I was never going to lose one, but I figured the World back then was 10 rounds, right? It was 2 rounds a day for 5 days. So it kind of let the cream rise to the top before it was all over. And I knew if I played anywhere near my potential, that I would be in the hunt, basically. That's all you can do as a golfer, is trying to be in the hunt towards the end of the tournament.
Do you ever feel like you won a tournament just by like showing up, to where the intimidation of just how successful you were as a player? Because I would say like the Tiger effect, if we're looking at golf, there was many times where you would be in a pairing with Tiger at the end of a tournament, and that person would just fall apart. Did you ever see that where someone would have a really good tournament, and then all of a sudden it get down to the final round or whatever, and they're in with you and you're going head to head, and you could just tell that they were not able to play to their best potential just because of the pressure that you brought?
I mean, that pressure is self-induced, so that would have to be on the competitors, and they would have to be able to answer that. I wasn't putting any pressure on anybody myself. Maybe, they self-induced the pressure. But I think that happened to me in 1989 a little bit, because I played really good in my first World Championships. No one knew who I was. Me and C.R. Willie played the doubles. We won the doubles, and John A. Hart and Steve Valencia come up to us. I'm like, who the hell are you guys? We've never heard of you guys. How are you winning the doubles at the World Championship? Then I went on to play really great that week, was in the lead group the whole time, was 1 stroke out of the lead going to the last day, and didn't play my best golf the last day. Maybe a little nerves got to me. It was my first time on the big stage, and ended up 5th, I think, tied with R.J. Jerez. That was the one Steve Wisecup won in 1989.
So were you kind of a student of the game as you were coming up? Like, you knew of who the top players were and stuff as you were getting into it?
The more I got
stuff?
involved, the more I got into the history of it, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Nice.
here's the facts, Kenny. If you stepped out on a world at the World Championships
That's what
right
I'm
now,
saying.
and you were on any card, they're gonna be intimidated. And yes, it's probably is self-induced, but that's what you do to people. That's what the greats do. If they're on the card, you're just like, oh my gosh, Ken Climo was about to watch me throw this. Like,
I would say that and the crowds. I'm sure if you showed up to play an event I'm sure the crowds would be there, the cameras would be there, and now all of a sudden I'm just showing up thinking I'm just gonna have a normal round, and all of a sudden I have 200, 400 people watching me. It is intimidating, I'm sure, for some players.
I've definitely watched some people crumble, for sure, but I don't know if it was because of the intense moment, because they were in the battle in the final round with 3 or 4 other good players, or however that mattered in their own brain. I can't pick their own brain at that moment to know what crumbled them, but yeah, I've definitely seen some crumbling going on.
Well, I guess like just watching like the Michael Jordan documentary, and then hearing the competitors like talk about him, you know what I mean? And the way that like you see podcasts nowadays on like YouTube, and you hear about like those old players talk about Michael Jordan, and they all say the same thing. They're just like, if Michael Jordan was there, like it was just over type thing.
Right, for sure. Well, that's a different kind of sport. You're kind of more hand-to-hand combat in those kind of sports, rather than we're kind of more of a passive thing against each other.
No, we're pumping you up here, Kenny. I'm telling you, it's a real thing. Those guys crumbled because of you. I'm giving you the credit.
Did you have it? Oh, go ahead.
It's one thing that I never experienced myself.
Sure.
Like, I didn't go up against, like, I didn't get into a group with someone and go, oh my gosh, it's Steve Weisskopf, or oh my gosh, it's Dave Greenwell. Or that feeling never came across me. I just felt like if I played my game against the course, because golf is you against the course, it's not you against the other person. You have to beat the course. If you can't beat the course, you're never going to beat the other player.
So you might have just answered my question, but I am curious. Did you ever just show up to a tournament to be like, all right, I'm just here to kind of have fun. This is a fun tournament. And then someone did something during the round where you were just like, oh, you want me to actually play? Okay. And then you just like turned it on kind of thing. Because again, there isn't that, like you were saying in basketball, you can have that 1v1 where you make a shot on someone and maybe you taunt them a little bit and then you're just like, okay, it's on. There's not really that in disc golf, but was there ever a tournament like that where you were just like, I'm just here to kind of show up, have a good time, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, you want me to birdie every hole? Okay, here we go.
If I showed up to a tournament, I wasn't there for a good time. I was looking.
Okay. No matter how big of a tournament it was always straight. You're trying to get the championship, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Just like Tiger would say, I'm out there for the V.
Yeah, I like
victory.
that. Okay.
There was a few tournaments I went to that were fun tournaments that weren't, it didn't matter if I won or lost. That weren't like PDGA tournaments. They were just off the books tournaments. And yeah, I played a few of those, but they weren't like real tournaments that didn't count towards my career record or anything like that. Like the disc roast in North Carolina. It was like mandatory that you drink alcohol on every hole or something like that. And there was a ball golf tournament like in the morning and then disc golf at night, and if they added the scores together, and whatever you shot ball golf and disc golf were added together, and that was the way the tournament, it was called the 10 Cup Challenge. And yeah, that type of thing I would just go into wanting to have fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I do have a question about
still be competitive as well.
Well, yeah, it like I said, it's one of those, when you have that competitive spirit, it's very difficult to just like go and do something and not care about the result. It's tough to be able to shut that part of your brain off.
It really is.
What was your training like? I'm curious what your training like was on course. So how often did you putt? How often did you go to the field and throw? How many rounds of, when you had a world championship, how soon did you get, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions here. How soon did you get to the world championship course to practice it? And then also, what was your training like off the course? Did you run? Did you lift weights? Was there a nutrition that you were following? How serious were you taking this?
I was taking it pretty seriously, not for any gain of, but for me to get better at the sport. In the beginning, I would probably play about 10 rounds a day. And my course only had 9 holes back then. So it was only 9 baskets. So I would play at least 10 times around these 9. And, just trying repetition. And I would putt at home, inside, controlled environment, no wind, just to get the stroke down, things like that. And, hundreds of putts a day, easily. And as far as working my body out, I was a carpenter. I framed houses in the beginning of my career. For probably the first 12 years of my disc golf career, I was also a carpenter. So basically I went to work and It was like going to the gym for 12 hours and getting paid for it.
I was telling Brody, like when it has one of the tournaments you won, you picked up the basket, and I'm like, it looked like a Nerf basket the way you picked it up and just shook it above your head. I'm like, dude, back in the day, Kenny was a monster. There's a couple pictures.
2007. I was 39 at that point when I did that.
And then there's like a couple photos of you playing with your shirt off, and there's no fat on that body.
Still isn't much at 55. I can't believe it. I haven't thickened up a little bit more. I still weigh pretty much what I weighed my whole career, 175 to 180.
Are you still kind of doing the carpentry stuff? And that's
No.
kind of, oh no. Oh,
No,
you
I quit doing that in the late 90s.
You just have a really good metabolism.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have children.
Yeah, they keep you busy, I'm sure. So you're talking about your putting and how you would practice it. One thing I did notice from watching footage of you, your putt is different than a lot of other players. And when I first got into disc golf, I was actually messing around without even knowing about it with a putt kind of similar in the sense of not having this big backswing. We see, a lot of players start the disc in front of their face and they bring it all the way down to their hip. You were kind of more closer to your stomach, I would say. So your backswing was much shorter. Do you feel like that gave you, like, what made you go into that putting style?
I don't know. Kind of putting to me is like individualistic. Each player needs to develop their own style putt. Like you look at Gannon Burr, he takes it down by his side real close on his left side. And no one else does that but him. I think you just need to develop your own style, which you can repeat. Whatever you can repeat and be successful repeating, consistent repeating it. And for me, it was basically a weight shift. I'm shifting my weight from back to front. And I want all my energy going through my hand. I had tried to be low-handed, very low-handed putt. My hand was, sometimes 12 inches off the ground as I'd go to, take my backswing, stroke my putt, get down low at the knees, get the putter down low. I thought the lower you got, the more centered you were and the more you could drive through it.
So was this something that you go ahead, Yuli, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so through the innovation of like baskets and stuff, did your putting style stay the same? Like, because early on you guys were putting on like one chain baskets, and then over time, like your last world championship was 2006, the baskets had more chains and everything. Did yours gain velocity, or was it the same stroke through the whole entire process? Because that's one thing that I'm noticing with this generation is the velocity is changing big time. But back in the day, they weren't going to get away with that. On those baskets, they'd
you couldn't
spit
get away
out every
with it.
time.
Not only were there single chains, but the rims were only about this deep instead of like this deep. So once your disc got in there, it could scoop around and go out the back real easy if you didn't have the right speed or the right, angle and touch on it. You wanted to be really close to the rim back in the day, just over the rim, and they had a less chance to come out. The higher you hit, the more it would spread the chains apart and have a chance to deflect off a pole or something and come out. So mine stayed pretty much the same speed and line for my whole career, just because I've always wanted to, make it over the nubs by like this much dead center or just a little off to the right for, right-handed spin to catch in.
Probably also like stopped you from having those brutal like skip off the top of the basket misses, right? If you're trying to go just over the basket.
My speed was never too much. Like I didn't three putt very much ever in my career, just because I had good speed. I think if you can control the speed of your disc, you can control the disc much better if you can control the speed. I see a lot of people whizzing it at the basket and paying the price for it these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watch a lot of the coverage, and there's definitely some hard putters.
When it's on, though, it is a thing of beauty. But when it's off, it's a nightmare, I'm sure. All right. If you allow it, I have one selfish question. If you could give me one piece of advice, what would you give me?
Keep doing what you're doing, because you're climbing through the ranks, as I can see, really fast. Like you've come from like a 950 player to a 1025 player in a pretty fast time. I think, just keep doing what you're doing and just don't give away strokes out there. Don't take bogeys.
Yeah, that is brutal. It is. That's my kryptonite. I get a lot of bogeys, unfortunately.
I think today's game, have to kind of go for everything nowadays when you didn't used to. But if there's going to be those couple holes throughout the tournament, throughout courses that they're just risk reward. And if the conditions aren't right for that day, don't risk it.
Yeah, the Open at Austin, there was a hole like that. And in practice, I literally told myself, I'm going to lay up and just play this hole for 3, a par, and move on. And then you get in the tournament, and I went for it all 3 days, and I bogeyed it all 3 days. And it was an easy like layup par hole. And it's just like, right, what you were just saying, I just gave the field 3 strokes for no reason, basically. So
right. I think Calvin lost that tournament because he went for hole 1, kind of. Turned his drive over and went up into the right OB and ended up skipping off the basket and going into the long OB, and he took a 5. And then another hole, a couple holes later, it was like 482 across the green, and he didn't get across the green.
That's the one I'm talking about. That's the hole I'm talking about.
He didn't get across the green. He took 2 5s right there, and he lost the tournament by 3 or 4 strokes, and that's 4 strokes. If you just laid up, it's easy 3.
Yeah.
Easy 3.
And you're answering a question that I had just in talking right now. I was going to say, how caught up are you with watching tournaments? And I know you watch some, but do you watch every tournament, like the live through
all the live coverage? I pretty much watch these days, but I don't do any post cover. I've never watched any post coverage. Never have watched any post coverage.
Yep.
Sorry, Yuli.
Oh no,
he didn't watch your commentary.
Hey, the fact that he's watching disc golf still is awesome.
Well, I still play. Heck, I went out to throw down the mountain course, the Grand Canyon, 2 days ago on my birthday, and got to play around out there.
Sick. Birthday round. Oh, yeah. Those are always the fun ones.
There was no one else there. The course was closed that day, and we had Mike Barnett give us the combo to the lock, and we were able to go out there. We were out there for the whole first 9 holes with no one else on the property. It was surreal. It was unbelievable. I've never been there before, just totally alone, just me and Charlie Goodpasture.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was awesome. I ended up shooting 5 down on the gold layout, which they're playing this weekend. Its tournament starts Friday.
Well, there you go.
I gotta watch out.
Throw the gauntlet down.
I missed 5 putts, dead center, high or low by this much too. I could have been 10 down pretty easy.
I want everyone to tweet everyone that doesn't shoot 5 under that they did not beat Ken's score out there. Love that. A question about the disc, because that is something that has changed a lot from when you were playing to winning now. What do you think that has done to the pro game? Do you think it's made disc golf too easy now that there are so many different discs that do different flights and you don't have to manipulate the disc as much?
I don't think, when you're getting up to the upper echelons of pro disc golf, that it's ever easy. No matter what the discs are, it's not going to be easy because it's right here. It's between your heads. That 6-inch mental game between your head. That's how you play well. But as to the shots becoming a little bit easier throughout the years, I think yes, because back in the day, everything we had was basically a -3 turn or more. Like you had to start it out with a ton of hyzer and let it flip. And it was more of a power/finesse game. You had to have some power, but you also had to have quite a bit of finesse to make the disc work. Nowadays, you can get away with more power and a little less finesse. Especially, the sidearms. Back in the day, to try throwing a Stingray with a sidearm. Just try it out sometime. Tell me how you do it.
Hey, I throw the Sky Streak sidearm.
I hear you.
I love doing like that, messing around with that. I think we only see that really in scrambling now, like the finessey kind of soft touch angle shots. You really only see those when we have to, we're in the woods and we're having to kind of scramble and throw those lines. You don't really see them that much off the tee.
The woods is a great equalizer in the power finesse game. Yes, I think you got to have way more finesse when you're in the woods. You can't just get away with the brute strength and power because you got to have a little more room to work the disc. With an overstable disc, it's kind of got to do this. An understable disc, they just kind of turn into their line and fly dead straight. And I think they're way better in the woods. I think more people would benefit from using a little less stable disc in the woods. And I still see a lot of people throwing the overstable disc through tight tunnels and just like, why? Use something less stable. It's a lot easier to hit the gap.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have the conversation now, Yuli? Because I'm very curious as to his thoughts on the GOAT conversation. I know you probably get that all the time, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on it, because it gets thrown out all over the place on social media. It feels like, it's on Reddit maybe once every month at this point.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the conversation being talked about and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What's your take on it? Where do you stand?
Well, I stand that I have done what I've done, and that's to be passed. If someone's going to, claim GOAT status, I guess they have to pass what I've done. And I hear the amount of majors he's going to pass me here soon. I didn't have but one major a year for the first 11, 12 years of my career. I could only play one major a year. And then after that, I had 2 majors a year for another, 5 or 6 years. So it was like 15, 16 years where like only had 1 or 2 majors to play. So I don't think that's a fair comparison in the grand scheme of things. Because if you were to give me 4 or 5 majors a year on all those years, I would probably have 40 by now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
If you were just to go back and retroactivate these certain tournaments as majors because they were the biggest tournaments, I would have 35, 40 of them.
Gotcha.
So in that regard, I think I'm way ahead, but in the actual sense of it being majors, I'm only 1 ahead. But as far as the world championships, yes, I've won 12 and he's won 6. So he's halfway there in my mind.
So my question is then, because then we have that, and obviously we're talking about Paul McBeth, but because there weren't as many back in the day, is there a player that we're forgetting that could be in the conversation above McBeth even because there weren't a lot of majors and he was playing well back in the day? Was there anybody like at that caliber, or were you just dominating everybody and they just didn't have a chance?
There was some great players back in the day. I wouldn't take anything from any of those guys. Steve Valencia, I mean, that guy could throw both hands. He was a great player. He just didn't stay in the game that long. And, Scott Stokely, when he was younger, I mean, he outdrove me by 100 feet. I was beating the guy every time. I didn't know how, but amazingness. But I don't think anybody has a say in the GOAT status, but myself and Paul at this point.
Okay.
I mean, that's honestly fair. That's probably the best answer I've ever heard. It's like the only 2 people I can say anything about are the people actually in the conversation, I guess.
Right.
And then philanthropy wise, he's the GOAT. He's doing things that I never could have done. I just didn't have the monetary, access to do the things he's doing, the foundation and the new course, all that stuff, the new courses he's putting in all over the world. And I think that's great. My hat's off to him. I wish I could have done things like that. I wish I would have been able to, be that person. But I was a father who got divorced, and I had to be home every other weekend to see my son. It was court ordered that I was a visitational parent, got him every other weekend. So that's why I didn't play as many tournaments as I could have probably back in the day. And that's why I didn't get to stay out there on tour. I never really stayed on tour. I went, 3 weeks was probably my longest time from home on any tour, just because I had to come back and be a father.
Is that why I don't know how you retired, so I don't know the story behind that. What led to your retirement from professional disc golf?
Well, I kind of felt this little twinge in my hip one day after playing some ball golf, and then I was supposed to play a tournament that weekend in Clearwater here at home, and my back seized up. I couldn't do anything, and basically I can play disc golf. I can go out and play around, no problem, but I can't really play the next day without it hurting a bunch. And I spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get that rectified, and no one's been able to help me do anything with that. So I quit spending the money on it. And that's basically where I'm at. I can't play 3, 4, 5 days in a row. I can play one round one day and play just to my potential, but I can't do it multiple days in a row without debilitating myself.
So are you itching? Is there an itch there to where you would just love to be out there playing and still playing tournaments? If there was a fix, hopefully there's a doctor out there listening to this and he might give you a little message. But if there was a fix for Ken Climo, would you, make a resurgence and want to play more tournaments and get out there?
Deep down, yes. I lived out of a suitcase basically for 30 years, besides coming home every other weekend. And that part of it, I was kind of done with.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see my son as much as I wanted to. as he was getting raised. He's 28 now, and now that I've got a daughter, she's 11. I've been able to be in her life consistently, you know, for the last 5-6 years. It's nice. It's been a different change of pace, and I'm glad I'm kind of glad everything happened the way it did, just because I got to be here for the raising of her.
Any thoughts on coaching? Any interest in that?
I mean, I give lessons a little bit here and there, but not really.
More on the pro, nothing on the pro side. Like you wouldn't be interested in helping some potentially down the road some professionals.
I could see myself doing that, yeah, but it would have to be for the right price.
Oh, of course, of course.
I've given so much of myself to this sport throughout the years and received not that much in return. And I seem to keep giving and giving and giving and giving. And there's a few instances I can tell you. I did a how-to video with Dave Feldberg. Went out to California, spent many days out there filming it, and then all of a sudden, right at the end, when it's about to be released, like something happens and it goes kaput, and I never saw a dime from it. I went to do a how-to video with John Sink and the Disc TV guys from back in the day, and spent many hours filming all that stuff, and he ended up flaking out, and I don't know what happened. I gave him all these old videos I had of myself playing disc golf way back in the day, and those ended up coming up missing, so I don't have those in my archives. It's just, I just feel like I've been stepped on every time I've tried to help or do something like that, and I just don't feel like I need to put myself out there unless I'm going to be financially rewarded up front, because I've tried to do it many times and was shit on, basically.
And
go ahead, Ely.
is there could you see yourself maybe being a commentator or in the future doing something with the sport as far as that goes? Because I know how educated you are on the game. I mean, you just went through talking about coverage and what was going on into detail. And so me personally, I couldn't imagine anybody better behind the mic than Ken Climo breaking down shots for the best players in the world. Is that something that you've thought about? Maybe it could be a new resurgence of a career path, or is that something that you like watching and
I definitely could do that, but once again, I think it would entail me having to leave my home and live out of a suitcase to do that. And that's just not what I want to do at this point in my life. I am going to do it for the USDGC, though.
Nice.
This year? Upcoming?
This year.
Oh,
Yep.
Wow.
Oh,
Heck yeah.
I like that.
That's awesome.
I did it for 2 years, in 18 and 19. I did it then, too, for the USDGC.
Yeah, you called my ace on 17, man. I'll never forget it. I get to watch that on my Instagram from time to time when it gets popped up, and Kenny calls my and what I mean by call, he commentates on the ace. Yeah, which is freaking amazing.
Yeah, I aced 17 at the USDGC too 1 year, so
Dang.
tip of the cap.
Well, that's one of the things when I first came in. 2006 was my first USDGC. And so I would get done early with my rounds, and I'd be able to go watch the lead cards. And I think you won in 2007, correct?
I did.
And so that particular year, I remember going and watching, but the shots that I remember from you were on 17. Like, you were destroying the place. He was shooting like 57, 58, like every round. Like, I believe that was the year that you ran away from everybody. Maybe Brian Schwaber got second.
I think Cam Todd got second the year and had to donate his winnings back because he got some kind of penalty from the PDGA or something.
Whatever it was, I remember watching 17. His disc didn't leave the same spot 4 rounds in a row.
Cleared the hay bales by this much every time.
You were
and landed in the same spot.
Straight backhand bullet, like a straight backhand shot,
little
right
turnover
at it.
rock shot that hits the ground on a little bit of a turning edge and stops pretty quick because it's on a turnover.
But do you remember that? Do you remember your disc? The way I remember it is it landed in the same spot every round.
Every round. I was aiming at that spot. It was the the middle of the green, the farthest away from the OB areas. That's where I wanted to hit. So I kept hitting my mark. I got a little lucky there. That hole can be a bear in the wind, though.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little wind brewing up on that hole, and you better sack up.
And you guys were playing it the same way with the OB re-tee?
Yeah, in that year
Yep.
we were. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what just makes that hole. I think if there's like a 60-foot drop zone putt, if you go OB, I think the pressure of that shot just completely goes away, and I don't think you see
you're
that
getting
many
a 2 or
OB
3 or
shots.
4 at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're on your third disc on that tee, your palms start getting pretty sweaty pretty quick because you're also probably not throwing the disc that you're really wanting to throw.
Yeah, I've made a 5 on that hole. Didn't feel so great about it. That's for sure. I had to re-tee twice, 3 times, whatever. Yeah, re-tee, re-tee.
It happens real quick.
Uh-huh.
All right, so a couple questions I have now relate to kind of some things that we've talked about in the past. I'm curious as what your thoughts are on it. One of those being the dress code in disc golf. Now, watching your coverage, you had the polo tucked into more sometimes golf shorts, but sometimes like athletic shorts. What are your thoughts on proper dress code for the professional level? Like, is there something in mind that you have that we should be wearing, or what are you thinking?
Not really. I think the dry fit shirts are, classy enough if they're decent enough looking. I think anything from there above is fine, but I don't think we should be out there in, tattered clothes with holes and stuff in them. Obviously, it just makes the sport look less appealing. But, a nice dry fit shirt with some good logoing on it and stuff like that, I think is good enough to be the standard. If you want to wear more than that, collar and whatnot, just to make yourself look a little better, that's fine too. But I think you at least need to have like a dry fit shirt on and something that doesn't show like big sweat rings and stuff.
Yeah.
Cotton's tough out there in the heat.
Yeah, I think that's actually not part of the dress code anymore, Yuli. Am I right on that? I think it is dry fit is like the bare minimum.
Yeah, you're not allowed to
cotton.
wear cotton.
Right.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see because there's a big push now for like collared shirts and golf pants and golf shorts, which wasn't the case when I first came in. But now you're starting to see, that side. And I think with dress code, you're always going to have some people on some side saying we should dress like this, and some people saying no, we need to dress like this. I was just kind of curious where you were at on it.
I have noticed that the tour players do look more professional these days, especially the women. Women tend to get a little more dressed up and a little fancy stuff out there. But yeah, everything looks good on camera these days. I like the way it's looking.
You mentioned in the World Championship, I believe you said, how many rounds did you say was the World Championships normally?
10
rounds. What are your thoughts now on that shifting away and us going to more 4 or 5 round majors?
I think it's it's a little bit better for the tournament staff and whatnot to produce the event for the 4 and 5 rounds. But what made the World Championships was it that it was more rounds, and it did did take the endurance, stamina, mental fatigue is all a thing when you play more rounds and more days. So, I wouldn't mind seeing it be more like an 8-round thing nowadays, 6 to 8 at least. I think 4 rounds is, that's a normal golf tournament to me. And yes, the ball golf tournaments are all 4 rounds, and no matter if it's a major or not, they're all 4 rounds. But we had our own special thing going at the Worlds, and I thought that was kind of cool that you had to be physically and mentally, strong to endure the whole week.
See, now I agree with you in the sense that that's what sets the World Championship apart from other tournaments. The other thing that I'm curious, was it also the field? Was the World Championship like the tournament that you knew the best players were all going to be at? Or were there other tournaments throughout the season where you're like this, you look around, you're like, these are all the best players. So, because that to me, that's where it's kind of hard understanding like what makes the World Championship more special than an elite event right now. Because for the most part, the field at the elite event and the World Championship is almost identical in the sense of the top guys. They're all going to be there. But back when you were playing, was it harder for more players to show up to all the events to where the World Championship was the place where you're like, this is where all the best players are going to be at?
Most definitely. The World Championships were where like all the international players and people from each coast, everybody was going to be at the World Championships. There was anybody that wanted to try. And, it wasn't like we didn't have big fields. I think in 1990, when we were in Scottsdale, there was 200 open players. in the field. And yes, there was people from Sweden, Japan, Germany. It was a true world championship. And I think, that led to it being more credible, is because there was people from all over the world. And more of the tour events, you didn't see that as much. Definitely back in the day, you didn't see, the Finns and the Swedes and the Germans and the people like that they just didn't travel over for other events.
What was your first check?
Definitely a notch above everything else.
What was your first check for the World Championships and your first
I
win?
believe it was just over $2,000. The one 1990 in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, $2,042 if I remember correctly.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I think Calvin just won like 7,500 at the last event. So not too shabby, I guess.
That's my local boy too, Calvin.
Yeah.
Shout out to Calvin. Keep it up, buddy.
He's killing it, man. He's killing it on tour. Question that I did, kind of poll some people too, to just kind of get an idea of what, the people that have been in disc golf for way longer than I have, what are they really curious about? And one that I kept picking up, and I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, so please tell me if you don't. What is your current relationship with Innova? Because I don't even know. I just know that your name is on a whole bunch of discs. But besides that, like what relationship do you have with them?
We have a good relationship. I haven't been able to do my part for them lately, just because of my body hasn't been letting me. But they've kept up their end with me fairly well, so it's a good relationship. We talk every now and then, and I just wish I could do more for them. I'd like to maybe get out and do some videos for them, like Nate Sexton did with with the throwing styles and tips and things like that. I could definitely do stuff like that with them, and I wish they'd reach out to me and make that happen. I could definitely do stuff like that still. I can still throw, like I said, I can still throw. I just really can't play tournaments because of the longevity of the event and how much it makes my body break down.
I think people would love that. I would love to see videos like that for sure.
I'll watch them.
But Innova, without Innova, I would still be building houses.
No, there you go. And talking a little bit about money, what are your thoughts now on some of these pros contracts where they're making 7 figures over a year? And last year we saw, I believe it was Ricky, Paul, and Kristen Tatar all make over $100,000 in a single season. Is that something that you're proud to kind of be able to push the sport to where it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a bit of a catalyst, for the things that are happening nowadays. I won 7 straight world championships before I ever got any monetary compensation. 7.
In like sponsors and stuff?
I had disc sponsors that would get discs and plastic, but I didn't get any monetary compensation until after I won 7 world championships in a row. So I think I was the catalyst for any player getting paid any money, because no one was getting paid anything before I did that. And how long would it have been had I not done that before someone did get paid?
So it almost got to the point where it was like a breaking point where you're like, we need to start paying this guy. He's just won 7 world championships. And then from there, other people could be like, well, if you're paying Climo, you need to pay me a little bit.
Right.
And then
like, I'm the one
just
battling him.
dominoed.
Yeah. Up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see where it's at. You asked me, I'm glad to see where it's at. I'm glad to see the rising tide of it all. And I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for the individuals who are receiving those contracts and whatnot. I just wish I was 20 years later,
Kenny, quick question about it growing and everything. When you're, let's say, out at the grocery store, do people come up to you and recognize you and ask for autographs and stuff? Is that something that happens still for you?
Oh yeah. Not all the time, but here and there, yes, I get recognized out and about and start conversations and whatnot about it. I've definitely signed some autographs. And Busch Gardens. We went to Busch Gardens one time and people recognized me. I went to get a COVID shot back in the day and someone recognized me in there. And yeah, that definitely happens for sure.
Well, good. More people need to recognize. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of people tune into this podcast because a lot of my fans don't know anything about disc golf. They're very similar to me, of where we were ultimate frisbee and then we kind of just popped onto the scene. And so they probably have the same understanding as I do of like this mythical, legendary character that won 12 world championships, but don't really get to know that much about him. And so, I mean, hopefully they listen to this and kind of get to an idea of just how incredible your career was in disc golf. Because again, you were at the forefront of where the media just wasn't, like you were saying, there's like videos that you had that just don't exist anymore. The media nowadays is insane. There's so many podcasts talking about disc golf. There's so much post-production.
Every shot's videoed. You can go back to any shot in any tournament, any hole, any round. Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, right there.
Yeah, I was watching all your world championship victories, and there was like 2 years where it was just like no video coverage, and they just moved on to the next one. I'm like, what? There's just not a single shot covered in these 2 years. So yeah, it's crazy to kind of see how nuts it is. And it's funny too, because we have a lot of people now, you know, talking about how bad the coverage is. You know, you're always going to get that, where I'm sure you're looking at it being like, dude, this is way better than what we had when I was playing the world championships.
And sorry for doing this, but I guarantee after this, you're going to be getting lit up for interviews from the other podcasts, and they're going to be jealous. Like, I promise you that you're going to get lit up of wanting you to be on their shows and everything. And I hope you take that challenge and you go on there, because the more people who see Ken Climo and hear the story, the better disc golf is.
That's funny you say that, because I'm doing one tomorrow night as well.
Oh, there you go. Let's go. Okay, I have a few more questions. Yuli, jump in too if you have anything.
Yeah.
Thoughts on ratings? Because I don't know if you know, I'm big anti-rating guy, but am I stupid for being big anti-rating guy? Convince me why ratings are good.
I can't convince you why ratings are good. I think you're shooting a score out there. I'm not shooting a 1045. I'm shooting a 53 or a 47 or a 60 or whatever it is. You're shooting a number on the course. Your rating is arbitrary.
Love that.
You like world rankings then?
World rankings are fine. Yep. I mean, why not do it like ball golf does it? They have a scoring average. Like, you average this many under per round.
Yeah, handicap.
Yeah, I mean, we'll leave it there, because I know people are probably tired of me talking about my rants on ratings.
The ratings are inflated these days as well. They're like 15 points higher than they were in my day.
It's funny too. They're deflating now though. Like they were inflating. No, I agree. They were for sure. And now, because like we just played a tournament with it was a silver event, so you had a bunch of lower rated players in the event versus Waco, Vegas, no lower rated players, right? And ratings, all of a sudden, like Calvin's winning score was like 1076, and the winning score at the Open at Austin was like 1050 something. You're gonna tell me that Calvin just played that much better? No. It's literally because you had a bunch of low rated people to make everyone look better.
That's what the ratings is all about, is the propagators.
Yeah. And so we're taking a dip now that the field has all gotten better, to where like the lowest rated player in a lot of these events is like 1,005.
Yeah.
Where in the past it was like 920, 930 guys with 1050 guys. And so all of a sudden it makes, the scores look okay.
Another thing about the ratings is you have a lot of OB on the courses these days.
Yes.
And the players that go OB a bunch make the players that don't go OB a bunch's ratings much higher.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome, players.
Yes. Okay. I already asked that question.
Too much OB out there, if you ask me.
Dang, I was literally just about to ask you, what are your thoughts on golf courses and artificial OB?
I don't mind a little bit of it here and there, but you don't need to have it on each fairway around the whole hole, both sides of every fairway. I think that's a little redundant.
Too penalizing, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
I mean, you look at golf. You've got the fairway, and you've got a first cut of rough, and you've got a primary cut of rough. There's a buffer zone there, and then you've got trees. Then you've got an OB line. right? You would play you play ball golf, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's
I
not,
think
it's
there's
not fairway OB line unless there's a lake there, right?
So no, you're right, but I think there is a massive disadvantage of having your ball in the rough in golf versus in the fairway in golf. And with disc golf, the fact that we can step around our lie and change trees, if you're playing, more of an open style course, trees a lot of times aren't going to be a huge deterrent for you throwing your next shot up to the green.
No,
And
but
so
10-inch rough would be hard to run up in.
I agree with that. I do love courses that like Preserve, for example, they have a lot of high rough of where you don't want to be over there. If
It
you
makes
have
it harder to throw the next shot. That's what we
sand
need.
too. Sand's also really tough to do it.
Sand's hard to throw out of. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's definitely different ways of doing it, but right now, if you play on some of these courses that just don't have OB, the people that can just spray and throw it far, a lot of times are going to have a huge advantage because there isn't a benefit in throwing it into the so-called fairway, right? Because it's just not as punishing being off the fairway as much.
Here's my take on it. If you make one side of the fairway OB and the other side, like it's a bailout area, the bailout area is now a much harder upshot than the side if you throw it closer to the OB. You get it close to the OB, you got an easy next shot. If you throw it way away from the OB, your shot's way harder. That's the way the courses should be designed. You've got to risk the OB line to have the easier next shot. And if you don't risk it, your shot is way tougher. And that's the way you can design like a one-sided OB course. It doesn't have to be encapsulated in OB. I saw the ones in Houston this last weekend. The OB lines were painted right up to the tee pad on both sides. And then they went out around the whole hole.
Now, I will say, though, Houston, the thing that Houston did well is I thought that the design of the par fours, kind of how you mentioned, when you have par fours that are just like this, right? From the tee to the basket here, it benefits the players that just throw farther. And if you throw far and you're offline a little bit, that's fine. We had a lot of holes, though, that were like this. Right. And so now when you throw a bad shot and you're way over here, like you're talking about, versus the person that throws a good shot, now all of a sudden there's massive things. There was one hole where if you didn't get around the corner, like you had to lay up to the corner. I love holes like that to where it really benefits
the look of that course. I really like the look of that place. It was an awesome looking course. I just don't think you need to have OB down both sides of every hole, every fairway.
What do you think about the distance of the courses nowadays? Are you fine with that, or do you think there's a way to design it to where you don't have to have these massive holes, or do you like seeing, the players kind of push the envelope with how far you can throw it while being accurate?
I would like seeing a mix of some tight holes, some accuracy laden holes, and some bomber holes. I think it's good to have all of it, not just one or not just the other, but a good mix of all. Left turns, right turns, straight shots, tunnel holes, water clears, water stay short of, water stay right of, water stay left of. I think it's good to have a mix.
Sounds like you could have future in course designing as well.
I would love to play a Climo course.
Oh
that
my
would
gosh.
be awesome.
Right?
I've designed a few courses, but I've never really had a nice canvas, to just go out and design a world-class masterpiece.
Okay, so
carte blanche.
There's a couple big benefactors in disc golf now. So if you're listening and you're looking for a course designer, that would be incredible. One story that Yuli talked about before you came on was one of the first times he played with you, how you called a violation on him when he putted, or when he had a putt, or
no, it was just on the tee.
It was off the tee. That's right.
Yeah.
Something that right now is definitely an issue with the professional scene is players are just not calling stuff on other players.
Or even when they do, that it doesn't get enforced. Nico called Ricky on a foot fault that was obviously a foot fault in Phoenix a couple of years ago. He was 3 feet behind his disc. It was on camera. Nico called it, and it never got enforced. And now Nico looks like the bad guy for calling it. I think that's ridiculous, actually. I wasn't a big caller of rules, but if I saw something that was blatantly rule breaking, I would call it.
Was that a different vibe back there though with players? Like, did they, when you would call a player out on breaking a rule, did they immediately turn to you and like you all of a sudden are now in an argument with them, or was it
would
more
create animosity and bad blood? And I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that we have to call it on each other. In ball golf, they call it on themselves because they have integrity, and that seems to be what's lacking out there in disc golf is people with integrity. Like if I broke a rule, I'd be like the first to go, "Oh yes, I broke it. I'll tell you, I broke it. Sign me up, penalize, whatever you got to do." I made the mistake. Nowadays, people don't want to own up to their mistakes. "Oh man, I didn't do that. No, I was behind my line and all this." No, I think it comes down to the individual and having integrity.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely certain scenarios too where like players are just in the woods, right? And your card mates aren't in the woods right there with you. And so at that point, I'm just like, I'm hoping your foot is behind your lie. I'm hoping you're not moving trees that you shouldn't be moving. So there is still a lot of that. Same thing with like when your disc, that's a big issue that we have is when like we don't have a spotter on a hole and your disc goes out of bounds. It's just so awkward when a player will be like, "Well, I think it crossed here," and you're just like, "No, like you're way back.
Call.
You're way back." I know, but then we definitely have an issue where players do not want to get in this weird, like you're talking about the animosity and all that.
Yeah.
You have an issue where like some players they don't want to have to deal with that throughout the round, and so they just won't ever really bring anything up, which I think is hurting the game. Because it's allowing people to get away with stuff.
Yeah, well, and some people kind of take advantage of it as well.
Sure.
Like somebody with, a different kind of personality who kind of, pushes the envelope of being like, "No, this is where I went out." And then, you'll have other people on the card, exactly like you're saying, just kind of be like, "Oh, I don't want any of this negative energy." And then all of a sudden and then all of a sudden they get the spot.
Yeah, that's fine right there. That's good. Yep.
Yeah, good.
That works. Yeah, no problem.
I was chastised a few years back at the World Championships in Pittsburgh for calling Scott Stokely on a couple of foot faults out in the field, and he posted this big thing online about it. But what he didn't post was the first 2 foot faults we called him on were up by this fence on a dogleg right par 5. Did you play the 2015 Worlds, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that par 5 at Slippery Rock that dogleg right around the fence and went uphill at the big peak? Mm-hmm. That hole, he had thrown OB right off the tee and had to take his meter from the fence. These were the first 2 OBs that no one ever saw, no one ever talked about online, and weren't mentioned by Scott. Anyway, the first one, he missed his mini by 6 feet. We called him on it because it was 6 foot away. He was 9 feet away from the fence. He's supposed to be 3 feet away from the fence. He's 9 feet away from the fence. The second one, he's 8 feet away from the fence with his foot, and then throws and puts his foot over behind his mini, moves it like 3.5 feet to make it look like it was legal. He threw, then moved his foot behind his mini. Cheating. So from that point forward, we were watching him like a hawk the rest of the round. And that's when he got called on the 2 open field ones that he posted online that didn't look like foot faults on the video. But he didn't want to post that first ones by the fence where it looked like he was cheating, where he was cheating. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, no, that's something that I think we have the advantage moving forward a little bit more is having spectators. I think that makes it harder for people that are trying to cheat. And then also, obviously, as videos continue to grow and we get more cameras out there, that's another thing of where if you have a video watching you, maybe you're less likely to try to pull something fast.
This was in the semifinals. This was in the semifinals at a World Championships. There was plenty of people around watching it. Lots of people around.
Yeah, I think it's different now, though, just with how social media is. You do something, you look at Nico, for example, right? And I'll be the first to tell you, like, I've never really had that many bad interactions with Nico. I think he has done some things that have been over the line for sure. But, you get 1 or 2 clips posted out there, and then all of a sudden you have all these people just dogpiling on it. And so nowadays, with how social media works, that can happen in a real hurry.
Yeah,
so you definitely have to be.
People say they lost respect for me because they kept Scott Stokely out of the finals or whatever. Like, you lost respect for me because I play by the rules.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be the bad guy, I guess, in that situation. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think
you have more respect for the guy that was trying to cheat and moving his foot after he threw. That's the guy you have respect for.
we need to have definitely some marshals too in certain situations. We did have some out at the Open at Austin, which was nice, to where if there is like a call like that on lead card or on chase card, you can bring a marshal in to maybe kind of be the middle person a little bit to kind of calm things down. But a question I did have on you that has popped up many times is 30 seconds. Do you feel that every single shot should be 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, or should it just be more of take your time on really difficult shots? Maybe you're scrambling and you've never been in the woods over here and you're trying to find a line, you might take 45 seconds. But like when you have a 25-foot putt, we should be taking a minute. What's your thoughts on like the time, pace of play and all that?
I've never really had an issue with the 30-second. I never like called. I don't think I've ever called a 30-second rule on anybody or anything like that. But there's in the rules, it states that you have a reasonable amount of time to survey your lie. And then you have 30 seconds to approach your lie once that reasonable amount of time is up. And then you have 30 seconds once you mark it. So you actually do have more than a minute if you do it correctly. If you go ahead up there and mark it first, then your 30-second clock is started and you started that yourself.
Gotcha.
So use your time before you go up and mark to do those things and then come and mark it. Then you have your 30 seconds. And I think 30 seconds is plenty of time to throw a disc once you've marked.
Yeah. The only time I would ever think you need more time is when you are in these weird scramble modes of where you're,
but you can walk around and look
before you mark your disc.
Before you mark. You know, you have a reasonable amount of time to survey your area.
Okay. I like that.
And, you know, distractions. There's also the distraction thing. And who's to say what distracted you? A bug flew in my ear, you know?
They actually changed that rule this year to where there's no distraction rule. Like you can't be distracted. So,
so if a car comes flipping off the road into your fairway, you should just still throw?
That's what they say.
That's what they say. I think, again, that's why
there needs to be some bit of a distraction rule for things that are out of your control. Branch falls off the tree down across the tee pad. You know, I might want to wait.
That's why I think, that's why I just don't like the time limit, because by giving a time limit like that, then you have all these weird scenarios of where it's like, yeah, if a baby or a kid runs right in front of you as you're trying to throw, you're going to be like, I'm not going to throw. I just think it should be, you know, let's just keep the pace of play up, right? If you get to a group and there's 2 holes in between that group and the other group, a marshal or someone should be like, hey guys, pick it up. Yep. And then they just walk a little bit faster. They don't chit chat and they catch up. Like, I think that's more important than being like, hey man, you took 35 seconds to putt. I'm going to have to call you on a violation.
Going forward from here on that exact subject is you've got a yellow brick road in front of you. The ball golf has already gone through all these trials and tribulations. They've been around for 400 years. What they do is they time the player if there's a gap between groups.
Yep.
And if you shouldn't get timed until you are slow on the course compared to the other groups. And once that's happened, then, okay, now you're getting timed.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's already out there. They've already done it. They've already went through all the troubles that we're going through now, the growing pains, all that. They've already done it. Just follow what they've done. They've got it right.
So you mentioned that you would love to do some videos in the future with Innova. You're hoping that they reach out. Any interest in doing videos with other YouTube creators potentially in the future?
I don't know. I'd have to, you know, have an offer come my way.
If the compensation was correct, you would be interested in it potentially.
Depending on what, you know, what it all entailed. Yes.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
Sure.
I'll talk to my people.
I wouldn't mind doing like a one-day thing somewhere, you know, just like a specialty thing that's not a PDJ tournament, just some kind of one-day, one-round thing. I could definitely show up for something like that too.
That'd be sick.
I feel like there'd be potential for
Crossing.
Oh yeah. The skins
like
match. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could be a part of something like that because I can play one round.
No, exactly. I was gonna say, I mean, even like a YouTube channel for yourself, I mean, you would have a lot of people watching that if you found somebody, let's just say, to film, you know, around a week or something, and they post it to your own YouTube channel. That might be something that a lot of people would want to watch.
I probably would be. I just, like I said, I'm not tech savvy. I've never really got into that end of it. I'm just kind of more old school
Sure.
in that regard. Yeah. I'm not much of a social media-ist as it is.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to our final question. Thank you so much for staying with us as long as you have. This is the fan favorite question whenever we have a guest on. Biggest pet peeves. Now, this can range from anything from what competitors have done, what fans have done, what you have seen with your buddies playing. We're just always, we love talking about things that just, you know, just get under our skin playing disc golf. And I'll start with one, and then you'll have the floor just to kind of give you, unless Yuli, you have a good one to go with.
No, go ahead.
I'll start with one, and that is when, because this literally just happened with two of my buddies. They posted a YouTube video, and they're talking about this disc flight characteristics, right? The flight characteristics of this disc make no sense. So it's when someone just like is trying to hammer home that the flight characteristics of this disc is way different than all these other discs, and then you watch them throw it, and you're like, no, that disc has just as much glide. Like that disc, it's not like that disc has zero glide. It has just as much glide. I that's a pet peeve of mine, is when someone just starts trying to talk to me the numbers and not actually how the disc flies.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on all the number stuff either. You throw the disc, if it does what it does, and you use it for what it does. Whatever it does, use it for that, you know? But today's game, my biggest pet peeve is cameramen getting in the way of shots.
It's pretty
Not
good
so
one.
much the eagle spike on top of the head. That guy was actually in a good position. Eagle went over the top, and that was just a misfortune. But I'm talking about more like the one that happened in Vegas, where the guy was standing in the bunker, near the bunker, at the edge of the bunker and in the middle of the fairway, and someone's drive was progressing down the fairway, hit him, and went into the bunker. Why are the cameramen affecting disc golf shots and scores? Why are they on the green? Why are they getting behind, like straight behind you, 180? They should be off to the side. They shouldn't be in your view when you're putting. There's a lot of things I don't like about what the cameramen are doing out there right now. They're affecting play. They're scrambling around and getting 180 degrees behind the player, trying to get the shot coming in when they should be 90 degrees off to the side or behind the player. I don't like it. The cameraman, it's more important that the cameraman be there than that's more important than the person throwing the shot.
I was supposed to tweet Yuli every time a cameraman got hit with a disc. I haven't done that, but I'm telling you right now, I have like 4 or 5 tweets I'm supposed to tweet Yuli. It happened. It's happened now.
Did it happen
times.
again this last weekend?
Garrett Gerthy hole 2.
Wow.
Through, and it hit the cameraman's tripod or whatever, and probably kept him in bounds. Trust me, people are
it's
tweeting.
Going to go both ways. There's going to be good and bad from it,
for sure. But people are tweeting me now every time it happens.
They should be farther away from the action.
I'm supposed to be tweeting you. People are tweeting me, being like, "Brody, you need to tweet Yuli because another cameraman just got hit." And I'm just like, "It's going to happen every tournament. It's going to happen every time."
Yeah, if you got them that close to the action, it's going to happen. You got to keep them a little farther away from the action or behind the action.
Check.
Yeah, it's tough. Anything else stand out to you as pet peeves?
Pet peeves.
Like for example, one of my pet peeves, Kenny, is like when you put up a nice putt from like 60 feet, but you miss it a bit right, and then people are like, "Nice putt," and I'm like, "I missed." That's like a nice little like playing pet peeve. You got anything like that?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, sometimes you can have a nice bid and it doesn't go in. Good efforts don't always go in.
Or what about when somebody nices your shot?
Yeah, that's never been a pet peeve of mine.
Right.
But I hear what you're saying there. They say nice halfway through the flight, and wham, it hits the invisible limb. Straight to the ground. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's just funny, coincidental stuff, because they're actually being genuine, saying,
oh,
it's
absolutely,
a nice shot.
Absolutely, yeah.
If there's no genuineness there, then I might have an issue with it. But usually people are pretty genuine when they say nice.
Mm-hmm.
Any idea who started the disc charger?
No, that's beyond me. I still don't understand it at all.
That's one thing that I said I liked a lot. I don't know if I actually do or not, but it definitely got the people going when I said I liked the disc chargers a lot.
I'm indifferent to it.
I said I was Yeah, I said I was anti-vandalism when like people put stickers and stuff like that over the basket or like
I'm
sign
with
the
you on that
basket. But then I was like, I'm all about dischargers, and people are like, "What?"
But that's also vandalism.
No, I know. That's why I was contradicting myself when I said that.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, writing your name on the basket because you aced it. Yeah, I don't think that's right.
or people sitting in the basket after they ace it for like a picture, and then it's like bent. It's like, all right, man.
If you're not hurting it, I don't think there's any problem with that.
I think it should be a weight limit. You know,
Yeah.
weight limit to everything.
If you're not leaving a mark and you're not bending anything, it's okay, I think.
Yeah, Yuli, you got anything else?
Yeah, my question I ask all our guests: who are disc golfers? And this one, I guess we'll do a throwback because you're not playing in the competition nowadays. But back in the day, let's say span from 2000 to let's say 2009 when you were playing a bunch. What person would you look at their game and be like, all right, that's nice. Like I love that dude's game.
I mean, Barry Schultz is definitely one name that comes to mind when it comes to that time frame. Ron Russell, he had a very strong game. He's, threw it straight and accurate and putted the lights out of it. You know, when you're playing disc golf, a lot of people can throw the shots, you know, progress down the fairway. It's the putting that really wins you the championships most of the time.
Yeah.
Being able to knock them down when you need to knock them down, and that to me is the pressure stuff. Obviously, there's some pressure drives and, you know, tight holes and stuff like that. You got to kind of same thing. You got to have that good pressure head to make those shots, and that's kind of what I enjoy about other players' abilities. You know, watching them being able to do that kind of stuff. And Barry and Ron in that time period were topped. You know, and Feldberg I'd say was creeping in there too. In that time period.
Love that.
Steve Rico's always been a good player in that regard too. And he's been there a little bit longer than those guys, you know, in the grand scheme of things.
I've gotten slapped up once or twice by Rico. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome. I know everyone listening at home definitely appreciates not just you coming on this podcast, but everything that you have done for disc golf. And I'm very excited to see kind of the future of what you're going to do with the commentary this year at USCGC. I can't wait to hear that, and anything else moving forward. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. It was nice meeting you in a online situation. I get to meet you face to face at the USCGC this year if you're going to be there.
If I qualify, I missed a 20-footer, Kenny, on hole 17. I had a 20-footer on hole 17 last week.
It should get a little easier to qualify as the year goes on.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, you would think.
Get in there.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully I get to talk to you in person, and it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
maybe
thanks,
we can play a practice round together.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
I'll definitely bring my discs. I might not play in the tournament, but we'll see though. I've been feeling better. Like I said, I played the round the other day at the Canyon course in Brooksville, and I didn't hurt that much the next day.
Icy Hot it does incredible things as well.
No Icy Hot involved.
All right.
I'll tell you what, if Kenny played the first round of the USDGC, the crowd would be massive. Oh my gosh.
It would be massive. Yeah, it'd be incredible. Be awesome.
I could definitely play the first round. That's something I could do. But if they want me to be commentating, it would have to be an earlier round for sure.
Oh, true.
But I might just try and do that. I did that in 2019. I played the first round, except I didn't putt out on the last hole because I didn't want them to stick me in the groups because I knew I wasn't playing the whole thing because my body just wasn't there. But this year,
but what happens when you shoot a 10 under?
Yeah,
first round,
great.
And then all of a sudden your lead card.
Pump myself full of anti-inflammatories and try and go out the next day.
Love it.
All right, so I guess everyone stay tuned for USDGC. It's going to be electric. It's going to be incredible.
It is the 25th anniversary this year, so
it's
definitely something special going on there, and I want to be a part of that.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks again, and have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Nice meeting you, Yuli.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Good chatting, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All right, there you guys have the champ, the 12th time. My goodness. Wow. That was awesome. That was sick. Got him for way longer than I was expecting, which is also incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting too to kind of hear someone that has that career in a sport be able to, tell you kind of, I don't know. I thought the coolest thing too is the fact of like, he jumped straight into coverage and was like breaking down coverage. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was my favorite part is how in the know he is about everything. Like, we could probably bring up whatever modern day things that are going on, and he's still in it. So you can see the passion there, which is awesome. But I do think we're missing out. Like, he has a lot of opportunity out there, and I just hope somehow maybe the right person can reach out and kind of give him that nudge, because it sounds like maybe one of the things kind of holding him back, like he said, was he's not too tech savvy, with this or the other thing. And if he could get that, we might be able to see Ken Climo in front of the camera a bit more, which disc golf is a better place when that happens.
I think the ability, the opportunity, I guess, as a viewer to potentially get more coverage of him, I think would be incredible, because I think he has the mind that he has is something that I think a lot of people would love to tap in on and learn more about. All right, we got a few more things to talk about, Yuli, if you got the time. We got some stuff that went down this past week. Texas State Championship recap. Calvin Heimburg is officially, in my mind, the #1 player in the world. Now, UDisc World Rankings say otherwise. Which, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about that right away, but
let's talk about.
Do you have him as your #1?
Yeah, how can you not? I mean, the guy is just on another level. Like, if he plays like that, there's no sign that he's not going to play like that. Like, he's just going to podium every single time. He's just going to podium every single time, because it seems like even when he has a slow start, which we saw at Vegas, he just catches right up and bam, right there. He was even contention coming down the stretch in Vegas, and he was, teeing off way, way late or early the second day of competition. So just to see that, and then, not the best field this last week because of the Silver Series, but I mean, he just mowed down the field. like watching coverage, it just looked like, okay, there's the field, there's Calvin Heimburg, and it's not even close.
There were a few people that weren't there, but he just had some incredible rounds to where, I don't want to discredit this win at all, right? Because I think some people would easily be like, oh, well, Ricky wasn't there, Paul wasn't there, Eagle wasn't there, Simon wasn't playing. And yes, those are all very good players. But I feel at this point in time, when Calvin is on, in this tournament he was on, I mean, I don't know if he'll be touched. When he's playing this well, I do not know if he'll be touched. We have some videos. I don't know if you've seen these. This was his basketball putt that he made. We've all seen him do this in, the skins matches and whatnot. You can see him here. And he just, I heard this. I want to say I was like maybe 5 holes ahead of him at this time or something. The crowd, when this putt went in, the crowd in Houston was incredible, by the way. There was a crap ton of people out there. The roars too. I don't know if it was because we were on this site where like it was kind of trees were bordering the outside and we were kind of in this bowl. But there was legitimate roars going on throughout the tournament, which was absolutely awesome I wasn't a part of any of the roars, but I got to hear them and it was awesome. We also have this other putt. Have you seen this one, Yuli? He throws this thing into a stump. He's like 85 feet away.
That was the next hole, wasn't it?
No. This is hole number 7, I believe.
Okay, so I watched when on the live coverage he hits the basketball
lot.
putt.
He had
and
a
then the
lot.
next hole he hit a 60-footer.
This putt is ridiculous. This is a layup for us. Well, maybe you probably are running this. I'm probably throwing a scuba. But I mean, the distance.
Okay.
And then when he starts running like this too, I don't know, like
Out of the oven, Calvin. That was.
when he gets that little gallop
He does,
going, that's when he's the scariest, I feel like, because we see a lot of times where he's just kind of emotionless, I guess would be the word.
Or when he gets a little bit quicker even off the tee, like he'll go back to his bag and the way that he moves is different than
You can
normal, and
tell.
you're just like, oh, Calvin's feeling it.
Oh boy. We can pull up the top 10 here for this tournament, and I'm not pulling up the top 10 because I got top 10.
Nice
But-
job, by the way. Nice job.
It was a battle. Shout out again to my caddy for not, for showing up all 3 days, because I was out of control. No really surprising names here. I mean, all the people up here are, you got Calvin and AB had the hot round shooting 13 under, didn't miss a single putt the entire round inside of 66 feet. This course also, besides a few holes, this course allowed for really aggressive putting. So you just saw people, James Proctor, another name of where like he was just putting lights out. Alden Harris, I think, shot 12 under the final day to move up a bunch of spots into the top 5. And then you've got Ezra too, Ezra's had a sneaky good season as well. And I'm not just saying that because I'm friends with him. If you look at his season, he's had a sneaky, very good season as well. You got Kyle Klein, Chris Clemens, Aaron Gossage, and then Nicholas Antilla, who also big time player as well. I mean, it was a good tournament, but Calvin ran away from it. I don't think anyone thought he was going to win going into that final day. He was just playing so dang good all tournament.
Yeah, the most not the most surprising, but I feel like the biggest story on that leaderboard, besides Calvin running away, is Proctor. He gets on the podium all 3 Texas tournaments.
Are you surprised? Right? Are you shocked that happened, or what's your?
No, I'm just surprised that it's not more of a story, because this is his first real season where he's going to play almost all the tournaments. And if that's the case, listen, I've known James Proctor has been nasty for a long, long time. Nasty.
He was my guy when I was talking about how just wait, once money starts getting up and you have people like James Proctor saying, you know what, I'm going to tour full time. I was like, just wait, these fields are going to get nasty.
Right.
He's so good.
He's very good.
He whooped me and Ezra's butt in the doubles battle. It was impressive. But these are guys that I think, I don't think there's any name on here besides mine that you're like, oh my gosh, wow, they're in the top 10. So it was a tournament. It was a very interesting course to where it definitely bode for players that had low ceiling games. Like if you aren't comfortable throwing low ceiling shots, you weren't going to probably play that well. And then people that putted, which we say every tournament, people that putted really well also kind of jumped up the leaderboard. Moving over to FPO, one of the few tournaments where the FPO course was completely different. And this is what I think needs to happen in the future more, because you end up getting very exciting tournaments. End up seeing very exciting shots, and you see players like Asai Ananda getting a chance to actually win versus going to some of these courses where, let's just be real, the people that can throw far have just a massive advantage. And I don't know, I thought this was, watching her play this tournament, I got to see a decent amount of coverage. She was putting out of control.
Unbelievable.
Out of control. And then
I thought it was to the point where, because I watched a decent amount of it too, but I thought it was to the point where I'm not sure she always putts that good, because she makes like her last putt for the win. It goes in center, and it was almost, I think she might have just been overjoyed because she won the tournament. but it was like every putt, she looked so excited.
So
you know,
happy.
so happy that she made it. And I don't know. I hope that it's just because she's having the best time ever playing disc golf in it, and it's just, going her way. But the way that she was reacting, I felt like I made another one. Like, this is crazy,
She has bounced up some of the leaderboards.
Oh, for sure.
I definitely have seen some. There was a stat with some majors that she's had where she's had like a couple, like 3 or 4 top 10s in some
Yeah,
of
she
the
took
last
fifth,
majors.
I think, at the their United States Disc Golf Championship last year. I believe she took fifth.
I just think this has to be like important to the Disc Golf Pro Tour moving forward, is like getting the FPO field on their own course.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree with that.
I think it just makes it for such a more interesting tournament. Did you see this stat? There's been 6 unique winners this year from 6 tournaments this year. There's 6 tournaments in FPO, 6 unique winners.
That's
no one's won
amazing.
twice.
No way. I didn't know that.
Going into the season, how much money would you have won if you bet that?
Oh my
Right?
We'd be rich.
With just how the tournaments went last year. And then there have only been 2 players that have ever beat Kristen Tatar in a silver event. One, Sayananda. Do you know the other one? This might be because Kristen hasn't played in that many silver events.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Maybe even one of the Mondajanos?
It's Katrina Allen. So those 2 are the only 2 that have only beat, and that's thanks to Stat Mando. And we have another Stat Mando one coming up, of where should we be concerned at all with Kristen Tatar? And this is a stat that I thought was kind of interesting. So when she goes into a final round and she's ahead, and she is 2 strokes or fewer, right? She's trailing 2 strokes or fewer. She's won 2 of the 8 times. When she's 3 strokes or fewer trailing, she's won 0 of 15. Is she a little bit of a front runner in the sense of like
a little bit? It sounds like that's exactly what she is a front runner. When she's feeling it, you're not gonna beat her.
But if she does she have, what is this? Is this showing us anything, or?
Well, I'll tell you this.
Am I looking into it a little too much?
No, I totally get that type of thing. Now, I am not in comparison to ever been as good as Kristen Tatar. Let's just get that out there. But somebody told me this, out of my over 100 wins, I've never come back from a 4-stroke deficit, but like 3 times ever. And 80 of the tournaments I was leading. So I do not like coming back from.
You like staying up at the top.
If I'm playing well and I'm in the lead, most of the time I'm going to win the tournament. And so I totally get that stat. Now, she's just too good. We're talking about me. Kristen is just too good for that stat to hold up.
Something is different though. You can't watch her play and not address that something is different than last year. I don't know what it is. Obviously you can look at the stats and say like, well, she's throwing OB more, she's not putting as much. I'm just talking about just the way she looks while playing. It looks different. And I don't know what it is.
Well, I know she's been dealing with some injuries. So
for sure.
With that being said, an injury is an injury. That's going to hurt your disc golf game. But I mean, right now, let's give a little credit to the FPO field as well. I mean,
for sure,
they're getting good. 6 different winners.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the courses that we are playing, right? Like I think the courses are getting better and better at producing a more competitive field than favoring a select handful of players. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of keep. And maybe it is her injuries. Maybe it is she didn't really make that big of a fuss about it, I guess, coming into the season.
Yeah.
And so maybe she downplayed it more. Maybe it is something that is causing issues that she's just not addressing to the media and whatnot. But, you know, I do think with how good of a season she had last year, the pressure that she must be feeling going into this season. Because we saw, I don't know if you watched the final round, we saw some frustration that I've never seen out of her, really, often.
I think we can make our first assumption with something like that after the major, because with that caliber of player, at some point, like their seasons are going, she is now in the realm of how many majors did she win?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're, because she's going to get wins. She's going to get another Elite Series this year. She's that good. Like, it's just a matter of time.
Top.
Yeah,
yep,
every single time. How many majors does she get? And then after Champions Cup, we'll have a good idea probably if maybe she wins by 10, and then we're going to have a completely different conversation.
Yeah, well, I just have to also give a huge props to Sayananda too, because we have seen this year where people have been in her position before and weren't able to hold off the people chasing, and she just didn't blink.
It was so cool to watch.
That final round, she had a couple holes where you could tell, like, ooh, that putt was a little nervy. Mm-hmm. But the majority of that round, she did not blink. And coming into the final, hole 17, hole 18 are not easy tee shots. She played hole 17 very smart, and then was able to, you know, get her tee shot dry on hole 18, which is all she needed to do. And so, like, big shout outs to her. And I'm definitely interested to kind of see what she can do now because sometimes these players, all they need is one win. They get that one win under their belt and they're like, holy crap, I can do this. So I'm very interested to kind of see what she does these next couple of events. And I don't know her schedule. I don't know if she's planning on playing a bunch, but I hope to. I think she's a great addition to the field. And also, like you were saying, she was just fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. When she was making those putts and stuff, it was very fun. Speaking of someone that was fun to watch, Owen Scoggins. Did you see this ace?
Yes.
I mean, this was, I believe, hole 2.
Here's Owen Scoggins.
And I don't know what's better, the actual shot or her reaction.
The reaction.
She is like, because, you know, she starts celebrating. She does the hugs with everyone, right? Cat Merch is there. Everyone's freaking out. Yeah. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to, wait, someone still has to throw. Wait, can I go run and get it? I'm going to run and get it. Like, someone still has to throw on the tee.
Yeah, she's
like, nope, I'm just going. With her arms out, airplane style. She is really, really fun to watch. Not just her game. Like, her game is really cool to watch with how she throws those super high overstable flex forehands and stuff. And her putting is ridiculous. Like, I don't know how a putt that wobbly is that accurate. I literally, it blows my mind, but she just makes everything. And then just her personality too. She's a lot of fun to watch, and she's been having a heck of a last couple seasons, you know, jumping onto it. Another video here, Gannon Burr. This was a backup we had on hole 8, and there's a playground that is just right next to the backup, and he's like doing some American Ninja Warrior through the playground.
Pretty good.
And it's like, you know, if some people did this, you would be like, all right, they're hamming it up for the cameras. They know someone's watching.
But he's actually having a good time.
He would be doing this if no one was out there.
Yeah.
You know, you forget how young of a kid he is.
Yeah.
And like, this just shows that, you know, he's just having a good time.
Yeah.
He's just out there having a good time. So I just thought that was funny. Also,
so good.
Watching his like lanky, ginormous body go through a little kid's playground is very funny. Okay. Update to Champions Cup. There will be a Monday qualifier. I think they were already planning on having a Monday qualifier before the whole fiasco of some players not, you know, signing up and some players signing up. There will be 8 people on the MPO side advancing to the actual tournament, and there'll be 4 people on the FPO side advancing to the actual tournament. Did we talk much? I can't remember if we talked much last week about who's at fault here. Did we do
did.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. We already mentioned that.
Speaking of which, did you
Yep.
sign up for the World Championships?
Yeah. You know why I did?
Good.
Well, I set a reminder, but also it's not surprising for me to see that the PDJ made 45 posts about signups.
Right. I got emails from all kinds of people.
I don't think Champions Cup had anything. I really don't. And again, I think it's the player's fault. You should know what to do.
Sure.
But I thought it was funny where I didn't get anything for Champions Cup. I don't even remember how I signed up. But
Yeah.
PDG getting flooded. I was getting like calls at the middle of the night being like, hey, just want to let you know that your registration opens tomorrow. I was just getting from all angles. So I think they took the hint of like, all right, we got to make sure that,
Yeah.
these people are signing up for it. Silas, pull up real quick the article. Did you hear about some of the changes to the course? I'm only going to go really through the MPO side. This is the new basket for hole 18 right here.
Yes.
So
I've heard of these changes. Yep.
Okay, so for people don't know, hole 18 used to play as a par 5, and the basket was like tucked back into the woods. Really bad for spectators. Now they're moving it out into the field, and they're going to have what I would say is like grandstands and stuff around it, which I think is a great change. It's going to be a par 4 instead of a par 5. But I think this is a phenomenal change. I don't know how it necessarily is going to change the hole up. I'm assuming the gap that I kind of can visualize in my head on hole 18, I'm assuming that's where it's going to be. So where it's like, if you're left or right on the fairway, you're going to have a really hard time getting your disc out into the field.
Yep.
But I think just as a spectator goes, and also video wise, this is huge, right? For a major, you got to have that. And then the other big change, if you go down a little bit, Silas, is hole 14. There's the basket. Hole 14, if you remember, I think gets it right there. Perfect. Hole 14, where I think hole 18's basket is probably close to where hole 14's tee shot was. And hole 14's tee shot was very scary because hole 1 was like literally a shank off to the left or a bad kick off to the left. And it caused a lot of backups right away because you would have people waiting on hole 1 to throw, or you'd have people on 14 waiting for hole 1 to throw. Now they're putting us more into the woods. Brand new tee pad. And I think that's not going to really change the hole up that much. But as far as pace of play goes, this is a great change.
Yeah.
So 2 changes. I think the FPO side, I think there might have been a few changes here and there. But these were the major ones that we're going to see moving forward. I think this is great. Can't wait to play WR Jackson. Always one of my favorite courses to play. All right. I want to finish up with a new segment. I think this is how we should finish every podcast.
Okay.
And I think in the future, I think we both should try to find one of these. Obviously, it might not end up working this way. But the new segment is called First Available. Okay. And this is going to be the biggest fail in disc golf every week. And this week, the biggest fail that I found was this Disc Golfer magazine and what they did to these players' faces and images. I don't know, Silas, if you can make some of these bigger than that. I don't know if you can enlarge some of these. It seems like someone found a filter and was like, you know what? This filter's sick. Let's just do it on everyone.
Picture.
Let's just make everyone look like crayon claymations or something. I do not know what I'm looking at here, but some of these photos are just, just brutal. So this, the Disc Golfer magazine wins.
Biggest fail of the week.
I mean, look at this. Look at Jen Allen. What is this?
What is that? How is that even possible?
Jakob's really bad. The next
How do you
one.
put that in a magazine?
I don't know. Can you go to the next one, Silas? We're kind of doing this on the fly a little bit. Sorry, Silas. I didn't prep you on wanting to see each one of these. But I mean, that doesn't look like a person. That looks like a paper boy from like a Super Mario game or something. I don't. It's like someone made paper mache and then took a photo of it and put it in a magazine. I don't know what's
video
going on
games
there.
from like 1992.
It's not good. It's not good. So there you have it. That is the first available of the week. Shout out to Disc Golfer Magazine. I don't know what we're doing, man. I don't know what we're doing. But there you have it, man. What an episode. That was incredible. Yuli, shout out to you for pulling that.
That was intense. That was
for making
intense.
that happen. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be hard to top. I know we had some good ones these past couple of weeks, and people are like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to top."
You know
this.
what was crazy about? I just want to say one thing that I thought was absolutely fascinating about that interview was when we were talking about how like he shows up and people would crumble, and he's like, "I don't know what that is." Like he's so oblivious to like he really does just play the course, and
Yeah,
you can tell with his.
He was
in his
claiming
answer.
no one got intimidated by him. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And it's like, you know what I mean? Like that was crazy to me.
That and you nailed the nail on the head. Nailed the nail on the head. I don't even know if that's right. That might be.
It's not right.
That might be wrong. But when you
Hit
were
the
like,
nail
if
on
you,
the head.
you hit the nail on the head. Nailed the head. Yeah, whatever. You hit the nail on the head when you were like, if you showed up right now to an event, people would be intimidated by you. Like people would get extra nervous. And I 100% agree. Like he is this mythical creature.
He is.
Right.
Yeah.
He is. And you know, I don't know. We'll see. I was very excited to hear how involved he still is in the sense of like watching disc golf.
And you can tell he's eager to get back out there and be seen. You can tell.
Oh, he was very quick to let us know how he shot at throwdown. Yeah. Very quick. And I someone watching his playing style, he doesn't need to like muscle the disc, right? He doesn't need to try to overpower courses. And a course like Winthrop at USCDC, there's not many holes out there where you need to have 500 feet distance off the tee.
The guy would shoot better than 3 under 2 day, guaranteed.
Yes. And that would be one heck of a story. So I'm hoping, you know, he can kind of get something figured out when it comes to his health, because I think that would be awesome to see him come back out there and play some. But if it doesn't work out, I hope he does get more involved, like he said. And that was the thing I liked. I liked that he was saying like he wants to be. He wants to be in videos and do stuff as well. I will say though, the man needs to get compensated though. I mean, listening to that, that was sad.
It made me sad.
Because that was kind of disc golf even when I got into it. In 2020, there was still this like handshake stuff and like, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And you're like, yeah, but I scratched your back for 10 minutes and you scratched mine for 5 seconds. Like, this is not a fair trade. That has seemed to kind of subside a little bit and gone away. Like players are getting, you know,
I'm surprised that nobody's like gone to him with projects and been like, hey, I'm going to pay you a lot of money to do this, man. Like it got my wheels turning, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, I'll pay you like a lot of money to do whatever, you know, like
even commentary. I mean, I think, you know, I talk about Sexton a lot about being one of the best, and I talk about Philo as well, but having someone that has his pedigree, his experience, it just doesn't exist. And his voice, he has a good commentator's voice, right? So, all right. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. That was a long one. I didn't know how long it was going to be. If you guys are watching this on the podcast platforms,
I knew it was going to be long.
I mean, you'll never get me upset about having a long podcast. I love talking disc golf. So, but we appreciate everyone watching. We appreciate all the new channel members this episode. We appreciate all the likes, subscribes, all that stuff. Thanks so much to everything. And right now too, Discraft is having a big sale on all of our Discraft whatchamacallits pages, player pages. 18% off. 18% off. That's pretty freaking good. So check that out. teamdiscraft.com, I believe, is the site that will get you to there. And I think that's all we got, Yuli. That was a good show, man. I'm looking forward to next week. Nashville, baby. Nashville,
baby. I'm
Nash
there.
Vegas, baby. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.